Masai, we're even 2 minutes early. Someone asked me this week that his father passed away about a year ago, and sometimes he talks to his father in the car. Someone noticed that he talks to his father, told him, how can you talk to your father? It's Doide Shalameis. Doide Shalameis. So he asked me about this. So Taka, and there is a Issa Doide Shalameis. It's very interesting. The Gemara has a whole discussion. What's the difference between Oiv and Yudoni and Doide Shalameis? A person that does the thing called Oiv is Skila. Doide Shalameis is Malchus. Obviously, they have to be different. And the punishment is it usually fits the crime. So Oiv and Yudoni are both similar, but Doide Shalameis is Malchus, is not Misa. The Gemara asks the question. The Gemara asks, what's the difference? The Gemara Daf Samachay, huh? Oh, so Gemara says, what's Oiv? The Gemara says, Oiv, he talks to the dead people. How is he talking to the dead people? He takes these ketores, and then he brings up the dead person either in his armpit or in his achros. In his aver, and in his yeah, and then he talks to the mace. And the Gemara says,
is the name of somebody.
Oiv is a person that does this thing, that he brings the dead
Was it not? Wasn't the person? He's from Tanakh.
No, Oiv is the next. A few weeks in the few weeks of the parsha, it says that you're not allowed to do Oiv or Yudoni or Doide Shalameis. So Oiv, the Gemara says, is that he brings the dead person into a part of his body and it talks to him. Yudoni is by putting a certain bone of an animal in his mouth, and he brings up the dead person through that bone.
It talks to his mouth.
Yeah.
Slide to pay up or some kind of a Zora
that's what the Gemara says. And then the Gemara asks,
does it really happen?
That's what he's asking, if it really happens. Apparently, because the Gemara says there is Oiches Senaim Oisamaisa. So that doesn't mean it really happens, but it does mean that he really is taking ketores, and he really is.
I thought that the person is doing it for someone else. The other person is paying him to do this, and so he.
Let's learn it up, and now we'll know. So Yudoni, the Gemara says, what's Yudoni? It's the same thing. So the Gemara says Yudoni is because he goes to the cemetery and he's starving, and he's fasting, and he's sleeping in the cemetery. Okay, so what's still the difference? And Rashi says that the difference of Oiv and Yudoni, they talk to the dead people directly. Doide Shalameisim are talking to the angels that are hanging around the dead people. So it's not exactly the same. Direct communication is Oiv, and Doide Shalameisim is indirect communication.
Why does it sound like the whole generation, like Doide Shalameisim?
He's talking to the basic. So the other Rishonim argue on Ashi. They say Doide Shalameisim means he's talking to the dead. So they say it means that is he bringing the dead to him, or he's going to the dead? Or if he's bringing them into his armpit, he's bringing it into a skull. And Doide Shalameisim, he's going there. Okay. Let's read a little bit the Beis Yosef. Beis Yosef says, Oiv zemala ameis b'kshofam. Yudoni zemaniach etzem chaya sheshmo yudu b'tachpiv v'madaber be'ela. Posher perik dalek nisem daf samachalak. Zeh shekos v'mashkos Doide Shalameisim zamare b'atzman v'lom v'sekorish tisher of ruach hatuma gam zeshom. It's a beautiful Gemara. The Gemara said at the end that when Rabbi Akiva used to darshan us, he used to cry. And that Rabbi Akiva used to say that Madach, a person that fasts, in order to bring in him a Ruach HaTumah, that the Ruach HaTumah goes in him, a Yid that dedicates himself to learn Torah and is mad of himself. In order to learn Torah, so for sure that the Ruach HaKedusha will rest on that person. The Rambam brings the halacha in Perikut Aleph Nachzav Edazora. V'yesh acherim shem lev shem albushim yiduim v'emren dvarim maktirim k'toris yiduim v'yishenim levade k'dei sheva meis ploinim v'yisapir ima b'chaloim all the shadova kol as a meis k'sheva meis v'yadiyah loike. Because Hagos Maimonides b'shem Aram, which is probably the Maram Rottenberg, shemashbiyas achoyle loshav elav la'achem misal hagid le'asher yishal. What happens if you want to? We have all kinds of stories throughout history, and also in Midrashim, that the people before they passed away, they would give a tkiyas kap. They would guarantee their friend, and they tell their friend that when they're in Olam Emes, they're going to come tell them stuff that's going on by Olam Emes.
In the dream, then.
Huh?
Usually in the dream.
Right. So there's a lot of stories like that in the Gemara, even. So l'choida ein ze doide shel meisen. Why? Kivin she'ein a doide shel gufa shel meis. Ruach unbelievable answer. Doide shel meisim is when he goes to the body of the dead. But if he's going to the neshama is not dead. Neshama is alive. The Emes says there is a zoya that we say when you go to Kibbutz Tzadikim, those that say the minor lotion of the zoya. The zoya asks, how can you go to Kibbutz Tzadikim? It's doide shel meisim. And the Zohar answers that these tzaddikim that we're going to are not Mason, they're Chaim, they're alive. So that's the answer. The Maram is l'choyim used in that Zohar that we say in Parshas Acharei, that we're not going to the body which is dead. We're talking to the neshama which is alive.
But there's still a punishment.
No, that's permissible. If you're talking to the body, there's a punishment. If you're talking to the neshama, that's okay. And the Beis Yosef is going to disagree. I think this is the difference. There's very different attitudes about going to Kibbutz Tzadikim. The Ramah very much likes this answer, and that's why those that have really, it's an old thing, the attitude of what it means to go to Kibbutz Tzadikim. Those that like this answer, so to them, going to Kibbutz Tzadikim was very special. They didn't see any problem with it. Those that went with the other answer, as you'll see soon, the Beis Yosef, they had a harder time getting their mind around why are we going to Kibbutz Tzadikim. We're davening to the Eibishter at the place of a Kibbutz Tzadik. It's a Makom Kodesh.
Kollel did that,
right?
Right.
So they had a more of a harder problem how to explain it. The Gemara in Berachos says, the Gemara says that there was a time of a hunger, and this guy was never hungry, and the Chosed Echad gave him a tremendous amount of money. So his wife was very angry at him, and they had an argument, and at night he didn't know what to do. So he didn't want to go knocking. His wife told him, get out of here. So he didn't want to go knocking on the door of his friend's house, because the friend's why are you coming here tonight? To sleep. Why aren't you sleeping at home? My wife kicked me out of the house. The whole town will know he's the Chachos Edecha. A Chosed doesn't go telling his friends if he has an issue with his wife. So he went out of town to the Beis HaKvoros, and he went to sleep there in the Beis HaKvoros. In the middle of the night, he hears the two ruchas are talking to each other. One says to the other, it's before Rosh Hashanah, let's go up to heaven, find out what kind of Puronius will be in the world this year. So the other one says, don't bother me. Bad stuff. What kind of bad stuff are going to happen this year? So the other woman says, don't bother me. She says, why? She said, because she's buried, she's buried with little sticks. So there's a beautiful pshat from the Tzlach. The Tzlach says that we bury the dead in the type of material that easy decomposes. So what happens? The body easily decomposes in the ground, and that allows for the neshama to have menuchas, the neshama to be mishatetis. But this woman, this girl, her family was very poor. They couldn't, and they buried her they buried her machzela shel konim, and therefore her body was packed between those konim, and the flesh wasn't decomposing. So because the flesh wasn't decomposing, her neshama couldn't have menucha, so she couldn't just fly around wherever she wants. This is what The Tzlach says, the Tzlach is Noida B'Yehud. Usually, this is the Pshat from Noida B'Yehuda. So she said, I'm stuck here with Machzela Shakonim. You go, and I'm curious. I'd like to know what's going on. So she came back and she told her, in this year, whoever's going to plant, but if he Rishon, because people like to plant first, but if he Rishon, everything is gonna come. There's gonna come a Torah, then everything is gonna be wiped away. So this chassid knew now what to do. Everyone planted their fields, but if he Rishon, he didn't plant. He's not planting. After everyone's stuff was wiped away, but if he planted. Next year again, he went to the Beis HaKvoros. This time he hears the conversation, and it turns out that year it's going to be the other way around. So he planted before anyone just even was thinking of planting. He planted, and he already had a little bit of produce. So by the time the bad stuff came, he already had something to eat. So his wife said, "What's going on over here? Everyone's the nest. I see everyone is not successful, and you're successful. What's going on?" So she kept on nagging him until he told her the secret.
Wow.
I don't know. So yeah, but so then his wife got into a fight with one of the neighbors, and the neighbor was the mother of this woman that was buried, and then she told her, your daughter is in great pain, she's buried in Machzela Shalkonim. No one's supposed to know that. And then she can't climb out of her grave. How do I know? Because my husband told me. So apparently, so that the third year when the chassid went to the Beis HaKvoros, so he hears again the two women are talking to each other. So the one that usually refuses to go said, "Haniacheni, stop bothering me. Everyone's talking about the conversations me and you are having. Everyone's talking about it. So stop. Don't bother me anymore. I don't want to."
Is that unfair? That she has to suffer because she was forced to listen to your dad's thing?
A million questions that ask in the Gemara. It's a very funny Gemara, but it's a Gemara in Berachos. We learned the So and the Gemara continues a few more stories. Like the Gemara says a story about Shmuel. That his father passed away, and his father, people trusted him a lot. So people used to give him a pikadon. And there was a few families of Yisayim. The father passed away, and he was holding on to the money for the children. When they'll grow up, they'll return the money. And then he passed away, and no one knew where the money was. So Shmuel felt responsible. Shmuel felt terrible that how come, like his father never told anyone, and now the money of the Yisayim is buried somewhere, and he doesn't know where it is. So he went to visit his father in Gan Eden, and he went to the Gemara says he went to the Beis HaKvoros, which is pretty powerful, and he spoke to his father. And the Gemara says a whole story of how he went up to heaven and he spoke to his father and they had a conversation. And in the meantime, he helped out this one and that one. And they said the Shmuel is very kosher in heaven. So he said, "Okay, if I'm kosher, I want Levi to go into Gan Eden here and there." He did a few things, and then he asked his father where the money is. His father told him exactly where the money is. The Gemara said he told him that it was hidden under a rechaim, and he said there's a package of money on the top that belongs to the family, and the bottom that belongs to the family. The reason I put it in the middle is if Ganovim might come, they'll take the money that just whatever they find at the top, and the money on the bottom over years it could decay because of the ground. So the Yisayim are very safe, and Shmuel Taka went and he unearthed it, and the money was exactly there. So we see from this Gemara that we have tzaddikim. Shmuel was communicating. He went to the cemetery and he was communicating with his father. So the bottom line is we're going to have here machloikis. What's the reason? The Ramah likes the reason of the Maram Rottenberg, as I said, which is really Musad Mazoyer, that depends. The Goyim are talking to the body of the dead. They're going to the cemetery and they're talking to the body of the dead. And the Jews are talking to the neshama. And the neshama is not dead, the neshama is alive. Let's read it a little bit inside. Nira Shadas Aram Lachalak when Derish Megufi Shalmes, or Derish Meruchi Shalmes, Shalom Osa Torah, but Derish Megufi Shalmes. Avaloi Derish Meruchi, Uvda the Huchasa, the Shmuel, the Ruach, Derish, and Malay Leguf. The Lamed Misham, the Mashbia Sachayla, the Shari. So therefore, if a person wants to be Mashbia the Chayli, that when he passes away, he'll come back to his friend and tell him what's going on over there in heaven, that you're allowed to do that. Given the Ruchi Bekir, Mashbia La Ruach Mashbia, but Loy Leguf. So when he's talking to his friend and he makes him give a shvua that he'll tell him what's going on in the heavens, he's not talking to the goof, he's talking to the neshama. And the neshama is alive. The neshama never, so then that's not Deirish Shalom Mesim. The Beis Yosef argues on the answer of the Maram. The li needed the who doise chose itel mitchi. Shaloi holach lebeis akvaris lidrish ma mesim. Loy megufim v'loy meruchim. He didn't go ask any questions. Okay, the Ktani Shiknik Dosi Ishay, Vaholach Valamba Besak Voris, the Shamash de Ruch Shmasapres Umzum, Asham had the Shlaholach Lolon Shal Al Livrech Miktotas Ishay. He just ran away from his wife, but he didn't go to really sleep in the cemetery. But Mikre Nimshach Shamois and Besak Ruchas Shmasapres Umzum, the Moikin have the Lamba, Holach Valamba Besak Voris, Kadelishmo, Ma Yeboilov, Bafak of the Boss, Achikam Lashana Cheres Harlach Valamba Besak Voris, Vashamois, Shneirof Shmasapres Umzum. ולא יזכה שיקנתוס איש משמע שבלי שום הכרח הולך ללשון כדי לשמוע מרוחס מה יהיה בעולם. Yosef himself realizes there's a problem with his answer, because the Gemara, it's mashma that in the Gemara is mashma that afterwards he went to the seminary, because the first year he got good information, so the second year he went there without his wife kicking him out of the house. He says, no, he didn't go it's basically working out all the details of the story. You're going to say, well, why did he go sleep in the cemetery? He couldn't go to his friend's house, knock on the door, and ask him if he could sleep in his house. It's Shema Mino that he went to the cemetery to hear what's going on, to talk to the. So no, he didn't want people to know that there's shalom bias issues between him and his wife.
But isn't there like a third option, like a park bench?
Motel 6. Motel 6. Motel 6.
Yeah, people know.
Yeah, people will see. Motel 6 in Ishgeven and a park bench, and people will see. Void a feeling to himself, which is a cheder shoylach lol velon sham like ntzas isha. Elishma Shabbos Ruch zoim zu ike lemeim with the shani awesome shaloy hoylach lol shek to shav ruch to dabre we do dove elishma my mesapres. Another answer you could say, he didn't go to talk to them. He went to eavesdrop, to listen to what's going on. Void shuloy hidib atzmai veloy also shumaisa kelay lidre shalameis. He didn't fast, and he didn't do anything. I guess according to the Beis Yosef, going to the cemetery itself doesn't count to do the Maisa. It has to be something more than that. And he didn't do anything more than just going there to the cemetery. So he has a problem because it's more Shmuel. He also went to the cemetery. So he says no, he didn't go to sleep. It wasn't long. He was awake, and he used the Shemus Kedoshim. Kedamin Perek Hamakabel Rav Solok LaBei Kibri Ovid Ma'ad Ovid Derish Al Meisim La Mistaber Al Ba'olach Sham Ba'isa Ma'isa Kememarev Atzmo Yoloi V'Shmal B'Sh Yudua Makte Ketoiris Yudua V'Yoshel Lavadei Aber Ksheni Oisa Ma'isa Ela Lidei Skor Shemus Bo HaMeis Medaber Ben Bahokitz. He's not doing any Ma'isa. He's not going to the cemetery. He's not. Efsher de Lometasa Mishum Derish Al Meisim. It's interesting. He doesn't write Vade. Efsher de Lometasa. Vein Chiluk Mederish Leguf Leruchay. The bottom line is the Beis Yosef holds it's not true. This answer that there's a difference of talking to the body or to the neshama, he doesn't hold it's true. He says maybe like all kinds of other tirutzim. He says maybe a mice has to be a very big mice that he goes there and he sleeps and he's fasting. Stam going to the cemetery that's not called a mice. מה שחילק זה מגומגם ועד דאי דוירש למייס לגוף המייס ממש כל הרוח גוף לכדי מידה משושש במקום הקומין ילדים משביס אחרת לא שקלה החמיס להגלס אשר ישל הבמוצי לעשוי ראיה מדגסין פרק מועד קוטן לרב שרם אבי יוסף כמי דרוב החזי דקמנם כגויסס אמר לסם לימר יסחזלי. And the Gemara says, and then he came back to him and he told him, he asked him, what's the experience of death? So we see that the Gemara does have such a thing, so you say it's mutter to do this. Okay, so the bottom line is,
This guy who asked the question, was his father talking back to him?
so that's the thing. His father's not talking back to him. So, and he's not asking anything. He says that he tells his father that he has a simcha, he shares his feelings with his father. He talks to his father. So I think l'chol days that would be mutter. According to the Ramah, which paskins like the Maram, which sounds like the Zohar. So anyway, it's only also when you're talking to the guf of the mace, not the neshama. And even according to the answer of Yosef, which says that you have to do a maisa. So, and his question is how big the maisa has to be. Does he have to fast? Does he have to go to the Beis HaKodesh and also the Ketores? Or less of a maisa, but for sure, if the guy is sitting in his car and he's driving, he's driving in the Hutchison River Parkway, and he's alone in the car, and the air conditioner is blowing, and he's a Jew, and he's a Maimon, and he believes that his father's neshama is alive, and the Gemara over there in the Gemara in Berachos, the Gemara has a discussion if the dead people know what's going on in this world. The beginning, the whole daf of the Gemara says, no, the dead people don't know what's going on. At the end, the Gemara, the Maskon, and the Gemara is that the dead people do know what's going on in this world. So if he goes according to the Maskon and the Gemara, so he thinks that his father knows what's going on, and therefore he wants to share with his father something. So I think l'chol deis it's mutter.
Rabbi, we know that the wedding, that his parents can go to the wedding.
Yeah.
Give brachos
Yeah,
and
but
everything.
he's talking to his father not only in a wedding, he's talking also in a wedding.
What is his father's answer?
So it depends. If his father is answering him, exactly. If he hears the answer of his father,
So you should just have in mind that you're talking to the neshama of the
oh, that's
nifter,
right.
not
That's what
the
it.
mace.
Right.
I mean,
Right. The Baalat. Oh, yeah, we spoke about them. Yeah.
so
We talk about what's the difference of Oiv and Dorish and Lameis.
Because the Baalat told she spoke to Neshama. She brought up his Neshama. That is done.
I hear you asking a good question. The Gemara Taka talks about it when the Gemara talks about the difference of Oiv and Dorish and Lameis.
That what's also the life's practice when you make contact law, it also is full. And that's what's also but the lady who should force them to go through that for the demons like that. That's more.
Right, that's really what the Beis is saying. That Shmuel did it through Shemus Kadoshim, and they do it with Ruach HaTumah.
according to the halacha masa, if you go to the Oah and write the kvittel, you should write the neshama of the Rebbe, not dear Rebbe. I mean,
That's a,
Maybe it's a shalia.
I mean, that would be the nitty gritty of takeaway. But the neshama, not. I mean, do people do that?
the Gemara didn't. That's not the answer. The answer Shmuel Chatchila. That's what he had in mind. That's what he had in mind.
Halacha masa, people would take this into account if they write a letter.
I assume they're talking to the neshama because they're reading the Zohar. The Zohar, that's what the Zohar
I
says.
meant when you write the letter.
But after they write it, they read the Zohar. So they probably figure out
All right.
based on the Zohar what the letter means.
Alan, if you menshechist, you believe the Rebbe
No,
not
no.
die, so you talk to Neshama.
No.
Someone asked me recently about he joined a group and he feels it's very therapeutic, and they smoke it as such a it's not the I shouldn't think that they're smoking this. What's it? Does he know what they're smoking? And they're smoking azah, gewaldig azah, and it cleanses your mind and it cleanses your body. I don't know what it is. Huh?
Everybody's older.
It's
Well, ayahuasca.
like
Huh?
what it is.
Yeah.
What is it?
If they're smoking something.
What ayahuasca? I found
And-
Mexican on the therapeutic diet.
Right. And the smoking and it mamish, it makes you feel good. Menuchas hanefesh and menuchas haguf.
More than Torah.
Opens the mind to say like
It's say it's
More
gewalt.
than learning Torah.
helps them.
Fads, whenever people are in a fad, so to the Shas Maisa, it's like this.
Torah is not a fad.
Solution to all.
Yeah, this is moedik. It's gewaldig. So here's the thing. The Eibishter made, The Eibishter made the world, and the Eibishter put in certain things that are. The Eibishter put in, the medicine in the world, and gave the person wisdom how to use it. It's just that for some reason, sometimes these things get used for avodah zarah. There's a beautiful sikha that Rebbe once spoke of Fabrengen in the summer, Taf Shalom Ates. At that time, meditation was today still, but it's not that you can't call the fad of the day meditation. By that time, meditation was very big.
The hippies one.
That was already past. This is already at the end of the 70s. But meditation, it's very healing.
What did it?
Oh, so it's kosher b'yosher. It's very good. A person.
I mean, it's bonus. It's not what his bonus is.
It's his bonus. A person is full of anxiety, and now you tell a person to sit down, relax your feet, relax your hands. Relax your brain. Stop thinking about 300 things at once. Focus on one thing. It's all kosher v'yosher. Problem is that the industry, which it's a business like every business, but the industry at that time was dominated by avodah zarah. So the people that were doing it, so with that they were bringing aktoides, they were bowing to either a human being, which is called a guru, which is not so popular today, or so you can't just tell a person you sit down on the floor on a little rug and just take it easy and think about one thing. So they have to bring it in. It's as if it's an old Eastern culture, and you bring up you bring up a little pestle and you put it on the table and you put a few candles and then you start putting into you start putting into the ear a little bit of
incense.
Incense.
Transcendental meditation. That's what they call it.
Like I was talking to my father-in-law last night. I said, "What do you do today? All the roses, roses had an unbelievable good smell. Roses had a good smell.
Yeah.
You can make brach on them. Today they breed the roses and the type of roses that they can't squeeze out a smell. It's no smell. So he says, "Don't worry, I have a plush dates." I buy a spray and I spray up the roses.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
what they were doing here.
Yep.
So no.
Right.
Roses. You see the roses. In the Gemara it talks about we spoke last week Sunday about Ginas V'Rodim in Yerushalayim. It was a special Ginas V'Rodim that they had. Then it gave off an unbelievable smell. No, they breed today. But anyway, bottom line is that this is all a part of the business. So in order to make the meditation appealing, so they bring as if this is some old Eastern culture, and they bring a little avodah zarah, and they bring a little bit of a spray, and they spray it up, and they start making some fire, and ahin aher, and all of a sudden people are willing to pay money, and
Give away all their money. Give away all their
they give away a lot of money. Yeah, it's a big business. It's a big business.
money. Shaman.
Yeah.
Another.
The Rebbe said that he says Ashgocha brought us that he got a booklet, an advertisement for this thing. And the Rebbe said it was Ashgocha brought us that he got it, a booklet with pictures and so attractive. And they tell you that. No, thank you. Yeah, they smell good.
Not at all. They're from
Okay, fine.
Colombia. No smell.
So the Rebbe said that it's a pikuach nefesh, that that thousands of Yidden, Lanias Daiter, are being nimshach to this. And bottom line, what the Rebbe at that time said was that any from Yid who's a psychoanalyst or psychiatrist who already has knowledge of this issue should go take a course and learn exactly how meditation works. The Rebbe had very interesting guidelines. The Rebbe said that they should make kosher meditation available. They should not push it on Jews that are not Nebuch already involved, because really, Odom la'omal yula, the person is not. Meditation is only just like a medicine. If a person is healthy and they'll take a medicine, they'll get sick. If Rahman al-Islam, they need to do radiation. Radiation is not like eating an apple. It's not healthy. This person has Yanamachla. So the Rebbe said, the idea of his boinanus and his boidadus, if it's excessive, might not be good for a person. But if there's a Jew that's already involved, he's already involved. He's going to Avodah Zarah. He's paying money, and he's going to some group that's doing it by Avodah Zarah. So Jewish frum psychoanalysts, psychiatrists, psychologists should go take courses, and they should build a meditation. They shouldn't push it, because then all of a sudden the frum people that are not involved, anu mishagas in the frum world, but the Jews that unfortunately are already in it, in order to take them out of Abizarai or Avodah Zarah, which is one of the three worst sins that could be. So in order to pull them out, to make a kosher course. The Rebbe, interesting, at that time said that maybe it'll be some Lubavitch and they'll get very excited about this, that the meditation, you can start teaching Rozei Torah, meditation. The Rebbe said, big mistake, you shouldn't do that. Because these people that are involved in Avodah Zarah are doing very simple meditations. They're not very strenuous, they're very nourishing meditations. They should build meditations around Gadlus Sokel. About what? Gadlus Sokel. About how the Eibishter is great, and Hashem Alekecha, the Eibishter is close to you. The Eibishter is very simple messages that are Shema Yisrael, Hashem Alekein, Hashem Echad, Gadlus Hashem, Hashem Alekecha, Kechecha V'chayusecha. Simple meditations that are very powerful and very uplifting. Not the Rozei Torah, because the Rozei Torah, that's these people, it's not for them, Rozei Torah. And they should do simple meditations, and they should develop, and that's what they ever wanted at that time.
It had a price a few years ago to call the stroker.
I don't know that. Because that was pushing it onto, that wasn't what that ever meant. I think the same thing now. I don't know what to answer exactly about it, because you have to be someone that pashteit the halacha, and you have to know what are the recipes in this. Definitely that doesn't sound like something which is awesome. It just sounds like something that you need a yid that's a shomer Torah mitzvahs, who knows what the Torah demands, and also understands what these ingredients are, to develop it, that it should be kosher. And I'm sure that the same thing will apply over here. The Rebbe would have said the same thing. It's a mitzvah gedolah for frum yid to develop that they should be. If there's Jews that anyway go into these groups, to develop it, that it should be kosher, but not chas v'sholem to push it. Like someone mentioned the name of an organization that once, that maybe what happened was they were starting to push it. Those people that don't need it, there's no point to push it. There's nothing better for a yid than learning a daf gemara and ashi toisvus. There's nothing better for a Jew than learning a shtikl zoyer with the netzutze oyer. There's nothing better for a Jew than learning Lakutei Torah and Lakutei Sichos and Kehem Chayenu V'Orech Yomeinu.
What's that? The advice Rabbi gave was for the Americans or for Israelis to go to India to find themselves in India?
Oh, here, because Jews were doing it all over. The Rebbe said that every psychoanalyst or doctor that should try to develop a course in meditation that would be kosher. And I think the same should apply today with this smoke. I don't know what it is even, the smoky, that they should develop it in a way that it should be kosher b'yosher.
Is it possible to do meditation without the bowing down, without bowing down idols?
Yeah,
sure. Without inhaling smoke?
Yeah, because sure. All those things are silly. They're just,
by the way,
those are things that they're doing in order to sell the product.
By the way, in the therapy I do, with some of the speech therapy I do, the meditation is very helpful, but I'm successful not through the smoke, not through the avodah zarah, not through the bowing down, but through the deep mindfulness that I work on, and through all. hard work, not through all this extra stuff.
Right. Exactly. Though these stuff and happens to be in the thing you're talking about. I actually once we know the same experts.
Yeah.
And I was very impressed. And yeah, it was true. I went to his office in Riverdale and I heard the whole thing and it was it's kosher and it works and it works and it works. Just that it has to make sure that you take out anything that chas v'shalom is avodah zarah.
One example is some forms of yoga. There's idols that the instructor instructs people to bow down to, and there's a lot of bowing in yoga, and we as Jews be very careful. 100%. Even the issue of the main problem I have with these meditations is that they took the person into a state of mind that is contrary to Judaism. In terms of getting that is that they took the person into a state of mind disconnection from reality.
True. That's true. Absolutely true. But if there's a person, just like a kollel, that sometimes need a medicine, if a person has tremendous problem, whatever the problem is, and this is going to heal them, so it's shayach. The Rambam says that a person should always go to derech hamitzua, but there's the roife and afoshes that will tell a person sometimes to go to tzad echad, to the extreme for a short time in order to heal. So it's shayach theoretically. Not that's why I think that Rebbe was very strong about it, not to push it. The Jews that are never doing it anyway, but they're doing it in a way of a bizarai, to pull them away to do it in a way that's kosher.
Rabbi, in the 70s, 40% of the Israeli soldiers went to India to look for something else. And they came back with all different core.
Right. They were doing it in Israel too. Yeah.
They use it not they go out.
Right. Or what I always talks about. That's very helpful. So, can't say, but okay.
I mean, it's Rabbi, the reality this is part of it's affluenza. It's a symptom of an affluent society.
Whatever sugar.
No, the point I have no time. They're busy working. They have no time to
Right.
find themselves.
Someone asked me he's going this week to Iceland. What kind of special brachas do you make on Iceland? So I said, it's Ashkocha Brotis, because this week the truth is, if you look the beautiful last week's parsha, Iceland, it's a country there's nothing there, and maybe 20 years ago they realized there's nothing there, so they paid some American celebrity to come and make and say, wow, that this is the most beautiful country in the world. And from then on,
The world's strongest man was in Iceland.
yeah.
Rob,
Okay.
my
All of that, the Ministry of Tourism of Iceland spent the money to let the world know about this, and then from an insignificant tiny country, they all of a sudden became like a hub of tourism. And then the shliach there, the shliach is good. And
There's nothing there where he went there.
no, because a lot of Jews are coming there. They advertise for work.
my daughter-in-law's first cousin is married to the president of Iceland, Messiah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Messiah.
very nice.
So Jewish wife.
Wasn't the beautiful
Taka.
Yeah, Ken.
That's everything.
Okay,
So to go or not to go?
for sure he should go. He's going with his wife. It's vacation. It's very nice.
Sure.
The shaila is which brachas to make. So there's two brachas that you can make a lot in Iceland. I've never been. There's two brachas that you can make a lot in there. Number one, the Alter Rebbe says, "Aroyal ilonas toivus v'noes u'brius noes tzorech levorich baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu malachim shkochel lebeilame." If you're ever going somewhere and you see magnificent animals or magnificent, gorgeous trees or things that grow beautiful and it's something unusual, you can make the bracha shekochel beilame. you can't make the bracha unless you see it once in 30 days. In other words, it's not something you see usually around here. If you go to this place, you make the bracha,
Shem Malchut.
and you can make it b'shem malchus. The other bracha you can make, Oh, the other thing you could see. So in Iceland, there's something. Oh, so there's the other thing you could see is zikim hu kimin koicha va'yoyde kechetz ba'oyrech hashamayim. There's lights. There's certain lights that they see that you can. Yeah. So v'nimshech oyde keshevet v'lazvos v'ratas adama v'labrokim v'laramim v'larucha shenosh b'zav v'roch sora b'yoyser kol echad me'elu tzarech lavarach baruch ta Hashem ken machelom oitzem ma'isa v'reishis v'im yoytze yem baruch ta Hashem machelom shkochik v'rotzam alayodam. So that the northern lights he could probably make oitzem ma'isa v'reishis. Then I assume that it sounds like there's one more thing. The Mishnah says Horim Mukvaz Yamam Unahoris, that these things also you make the Oisamais Yomim. Yeah, the first Mishnah and the last Perek and Berachos. Yamim Nahoris Horim Mukvaz is, and Midboris you make Oisamais Berachos. The Alter Rebbe doesn't bring it. Why does the Alter Rebbe not bring it and say the B'Sanana? Because the Shulchan Aruch says Loi Kol Nahoris Mavarach Elal Arba Nahoris Ksiva B'Kra. Only the four Naharis, which so the Mefarshim say that the Magamram argues. He says it doesn't have to be Prasach Kedekla. It has to be an awesome Nahar. Like if you go, you'll see the Great Lakes, or you see the Niagara Falls, or the
Oil River.
Also, the Shulchan Aruch says as a condition it has to be a river. Has to be. There wasn't a. You can't make this bracha in the Panama Canal. It has to be that this was that the hiluchim is naturally.
How about the bracha shelo hiseh be'olamot davar? It's current here. You can say it.
No, but that's only where you go out the Nissen and you see Elonis Malavlavin. It's not. And that bracha doesn't apply. So the one bracha you can make is shekachaloi be'elamoi. There is a bracha. We'll talk in a second about Mashana Abrius, but that's very complicated. That bracha.
It's controversial, also, no?
Yeah, it's
Somebody show.
it's
The elephant, the monkey.
there's three animals, and only some of Fortune say it's only the first time you see it in your life. So that's why I'm leaving that aside. But the Alter Rebbe doesn't bring about the Horim Mukvos and Yamim and the Horis. I would say very simple. The reason the Alter Rebbe doesn't bring it, you have to go to once go to Belarus, to Ukraine, and to Russia to know why the Alter Rebbe never said it.
It's never there.
Huh?
It's not there.
It's not there.
Not
You
there.
drive for hundreds of miles. It's you've seen. It's like you don't know what the boring terrain it is. The most boring terrain on planet Earth. It's like we live here in New York. You're right here. You see the Yamagodl. They drive a little distance. You have the Catskill Mountains that are beautiful. There's a richness in drive, and it's gorgeous. You drive hundreds of miles through with broken trees because it's broken trees. Hundreds of miles, hundreds. There's no Yamen. There's no awesome Nahoris. There's no Horim. White Russia, Ukraine. There's no Yamim. There's no Nahoris. There's no Horim, and there's no Gvos.
It's plain, so plain.
Just
Yeah.
Chama.
Don't talk in the Carpathian Mountains.
The Baal Shem Tov is the Carpathian. That's where he came from. I'm talking with the Alter Rebbe lived in Liozna. So the Alter Rebbe writes the beginning of chapter 6 that he doesn't want to talk about grapes and olives and carob because any motzav in Medina Sainu. We never saw a grape. Whoever saw in our country is a grape, an olive. We never saw such a thing. So the Alter Rebbe says, let's not talk about it. So very complicated. They thought it didn't have wine. So that's what that vodka.
They didn't make Kiddush Friday night on vodka.
No, they used to get raisins. They used to make raisin wine.
So it was very hard.
Even for very difficult wine. Very, very difficult. Very difficult. I told the story here many years ago. Abhela told me that David Tovarsky told him. If David's son, Rosh Yeshiva today in Ponovich, and when they came to Eretz Yisrael, the first Shabbos, they made Kiddush and wine. He said, Tati, who does that? Who makes Kiddush and wine?
I had a condition, correct?
They used to make kiddush on challah. So the Alter Rebbe says, I'm not going to talk about grapes and olives because ain't matzah b'medina saying. So can you imagine they live
And
such
getting
a,
an esrog was similar difficult.
it's very difficult. It's very difficult. Even having the whole town would buy an esrog. The esrogim came from very far, even though it's not really that far. I think Italy to the rest of it, but it was a big asik. So that's why I think the Alter Rebbe doesn't mention. But Lapoil, if a person is going to go on vacation and he's going to see Taka, it has to be not a little hot. It has to be just like he says with the four Nahoris. It has to be something similar to the Pras and the Chitekul. Horim it was, is to be something awesome. But, huh? For sure. What's the Shaila? For sure. 100%. 100%. And the fact that Alter Rebbe doesn't bring it is just because he was in those Medinas, it was very, very boring terrain. But to whoever's going to Iceland, going gesund, to come gesund, you're going to have a lot of chances to make the bracha oisa ma'isa v'reishis, but you make it only once. Unless you see it, you wait 30 days. The Alter Rebbe says 30 days means 4 weeks later from a Sunday to a Tuesday.
What's that? So if you come to your arrive as a storm, and you see some kind of lightning, you don't forget that you're going.
No, for different things.
Different each one.
Yeah. For each one, you can make a different bracha
How many
oisa
hours
ma'isa
flight
v'reishis.
is that?
Yeah, it's 5 hours. No big
Oh,
deal.
that's so far.
Yeah. That's why it's a very
It's the Canada.
Yeah. A lot of people like it. It's a short flight. They go there for 2-3 days, and it's a beautiful place, and they get a chance to do certain brachas.
And they have Bet Chabad there too, probably.
Yeah.
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For years.
Definitely. We don't want to fly to Iceland. We want to take it from a yard.
Yerushalayim.
That exactly. That you have kamishas b'av. Boy, yom tovim. We saw kamishas b'av. He said yesterday that after the Yerida of Tisha B'av, kamishas b'av is the biggest aliyah. The aliyah is the biggest Mashiach Tzidkenu will be flying there at Israel.
Oh, man.
We got Amazon.
No, but we're going to meet you there.
Yeah. Rabbi
And
Greenwald
slowly
can
we're
stay
gonna see you-
stay there.
Oh,
He's
you're
already
in
there.
Israel?
Yeah, don't you see?
I don't know where he is.
He's on the way up. You don't see?
He's in Kfar Chabad.
Oh, okay. So we're going to come join you.
After money's coming back.
He's not. He's staying there.
Sei gesund. Der Mama soll sein gesund. Leute, kommt wir schon im Teubes.
We're joining him.
Oh man, score, Rabbi.
Where are you? Kfar Chabad? Wow.